operations is the way in which we have to do each problem that has multiple operations in them. Remember, operations are things like add, subtract, multiply, divide. So if you notice, I have a problem that started off here. And look at all these different things going on. I've got subtraction, addition, multiplication, division. I've got an exponent. When I see all that going on, I know that I'm going to have to use the law of mathematics that tells us we're going to have to use a specific order, and everybody has to use the same order. It's called order of operations. The other way that we call it is PEMDAS. PEMDAS just reminds us which order comes first. And so we have a little saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, to help us remember each step. The P stands for parentheses. E is exponent. And remember, an exponent we can identify because you have a number and then the little number up top. Remember the base and the exponent. Multiplication and division, add and subtract. But there's a couple of things that are very special in PEMDAS. First of all, we're going to circle M and D, which is the multiplication division, because it's not just multiply and then divide. When we look for multiplication division, we're going to look at which one do we see first. Whichever one we see first, we're going to do first. The same thing is true of add, subtract. We're not going to just look for addition first, we're going to look for addition and subtraction, and we're going to stop at whichever one we see first. Okay, so we have our problem, we see a bunch of different things going on, we know we're going to have to use order of operations. I'm going to start by looking from the left to the right and scan. The first thing I want to look for is parentheses. Do I see parentheses? Yes, so I'm going to stop at parentheses. So they underline the parentheses, showing that that's what they're going to do first. And they solve. What's inside the parentheses? Multiplication. 6 times 3 is 18. Then they bring everything down that they have not used yet. I have not used 15 minus 8 plus the 18 was what we brought down, divided by 3 squared. I haven't used any of that. Okay, so I look and I look for parentheses. I don't see any more, so I'm done. Next, I go on to exponents. I start on the left and I look to the right. Do I see any exponents? Yes. So I'm going to stop and underline 3 squared. Now I'm going to do a little think bubble. Think about what does that actually mean, 3 squared. Remember that the base is the number that we see. The exponent 2 says how many times we see it. So it's actually 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to bring that down. And then I'm going to bring everything else down that I have not used. I scan again and I see no more exponents, so I'm done with exponents. So now I get to that special bubble. Multiply or divide, whichever one I see first. Start on the left, scan to the right, and I see division. I'm going to stop and underline. 18 divided by 9 is 2. And then I'm going to bring down everything I have not used yet. Okay, scan left to right. Do I see any more multiply, divide? No, so I'm done. Go down to add, subtract. Add, subtract, remember it's the same thing. Add or subtract, whichever one I see first. Scan left to right. I'm going to stop. I see subtraction. I'm not going to pass subtraction to get to addition just because I see the A first in PEMDAS. That's special. Add, subtract, whichever one I see first. I see subtraction. 15 minus 8 is 7. Bring down everything else that you have not done. Okay, we're still add, subtract, scan from left to right. Or at the last step, I see addition. 7 plus 2 is 9. I'm going to circle my answer. Notice when I do PEMDAS correctly and one step at a time, it almost makes this, it's an upside down triangle, Dorito, pizza slice, ice cream cone, whatever you see in that picture. The last thing we're going to do is look at what processes did we do along the way. Well, if you go back to the first step here, what's the operation? Remember, parentheses are not operations. It's what's happening inside. Well, we multiplied. That was our first step. Then we went to this exponent. Again, an exponent is not an operation. What did we do to get the answer below? Well, we multiplied, so that's another multiplication. And then we went right here to 18 divided by 9, so we divided to get the next number. Then we went to 15 minus 8, that was a subtraction. And then the last one was addition. And so this is our process. This is all of the operations we performed in the order that we performed them to get our answer. Okay, so let's look at number 1. I'm going to start with writing PEMDAS on the side. I'm going to remind myself that these two are special. It's whichever one I see first. These two are special. It's whichever one I see first. So I'm going to look from left to right. I know it's order of operations because I see a plus, a minus, and a division. Those are multiple operations, so I need to use my order. I look left to right. I don't see any parentheses, so I'm moving on. Left to right, I don't see any exponents. Moving on. I look left to right and I see multiplication, division, whichever one I see first, and I'm going to stop because I see division here. 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I'm going to write my answer down. Bring down all of the numbers and operations I have not used at this point. Scan left to right. Do you see any more multiply, divide? No, that means that's done. Next, I'm going to add, subtract, whichever one comes first. Scan from left to right. I'm going to stop. I see addition first. 2 plus 7 is 9. Bring everything else down that I have not used. We're still add, subtract. I see subtract. I'm going to underline it. 9 minus 2 is 7. And I end up with my answer at the bottom. Process box. What did we do first? Well, first we went through and we divided. So I'm going to start there. Next step, notice I underlined right here, I added. That was my step 2. My third step, we subtracted. So it just took 3 steps to get the answer, and in order, I first divided, then I added, then I subtracted. Okay, let's do number 2. Again, I'm going to start with my PEMDAS. I'm going to remind myself that these two, it's whichever one I see first. Add, subtract is the same thing, whichever one I see first. But I'm going to start from left to right. I'm going to look for parentheses. Do I see them? Scan, yes, stop, parentheses. 8 plus 2 is 10. Write down everything that you did not use. Scan left to right. Do I see any more parentheses? No, I'm done. Next step is exponents. Scan. Do I see any exponents? No. So I'm passing that one. Next one is multiply or divide, whichever one I see first. I scan and I stop. I see multiplication. Solve it. 4 times 2 is 8. Bring everything else down. Okay, we're still on multiply, divide. I'm going to scan from left to right. Do I see anything? Whichever one comes first. And I'm going to stop. I see division. 10 divided by 10 is 1. Bring everything else, oh, that's a 2, sorry. Everything else down. Okay, I'm still on multiply, divide. Scan left to right. Do I see any more multiply, divide? No, I'm done. Add, subtract, whichever one I see first. Scan left to right. I see subtraction first. 32 minus 8 is 24. Bring down what you have not used. Scan again, left to right. I'm still in add subtract. I'm going to stop because I see addition. Add them up, and I'm down to my answer of 25, and I'm done with add subtract. Now my process, go through, what did I do? Well, first I added, next we multiplied, then divided, then subtracted, and last one we added. And that's our process. Okay, I'm going to erase this. I want you to try number 13 on your own. Just get a scratch piece of paper if you do not have this, and try it on your own and see how you do. And then come back and check with me. So go ahead and pause the video. Come back and check when you're finished. Okay, so you should have paused the video, and let's come back and check. The first thing I want to do is I want to write PEMDAS. I want my checklist to make sure I am keeping track of what I'm doing. I'm going to circle my multiplication division because I want to remind myself it's whichever one I see first. Same thing with addition and subtraction. I want to make sure that I remember. So I scan from left to right, and I want to start with parentheses. Do I see parentheses? Yes, so I'm going to stop and underline it. Inside the parentheses is subtraction. 15 minus 9 is 6. Bring down everything you have not used yet. Still scan from left to right. Do I have any more parentheses? No, so I'm done. Do I have exponents? Scan, yes. Stop at your exponent. 4 squared. You have to think about what does that mean. I'm going to write it right underneath. Remember, the base is what you see. Squared is how many times you see it. That is not 4 times 2. Be careful. Lots of mistakes are being made. 4 times 4 is 16. Then bring down everything else you have not used. Then I scan from left to right, look for any more exponents. No, so I'm done. I go down to multiply and divide, whichever one I see first. Scan from left to right, stop. I see division. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Bring down everything else I have not used. Scan, multiply or divide. I don't see any, so I'm done with division. Now I'm in addition, subtraction, whichever one I see first. Scan, I see addition. 6 plus 2 is 8, and I'm down to my last number. That's my answer, and I'm done with addition, subtraction. Next, I'm just going to write my process box. The first thing we did was subtract. The next thing we did was we did this exponent right here, but an exponent is not an operation. Remember, an exponent means that we are multiplying. Then we divided, and next we added. So the process was subtraction, multiplication, division, and addition. Okay, let's try number 4. Why don't you try it on your own? Pause the video. Come back and check it with me. Okay, so you should try number 4 on your own. First thing is you should have written down your checklist of PEMDAS. I'm going to circle, multiply, divide to remind me that it's whichever one I see first. Same thing with add, subtract, whichever one I see first. So I'm going to start with scanning from left to right, and I'm looking for parentheses. Do I have any? Yes. I'm going to stop and underline. 15 times 2 is 30. Next, I'm going to bring down everything that I have not used yet. Scan left to right. Do I see parentheses? No. I'm done. Scan left to right. Do I see exponents? Yes. I'm going to stop. 3 cubed. Think about what that means. 3 is the number that you see. The exponent cubed is how many times you see it. Be careful, that's not 3 times 3. Remember, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So I'm going to bring down my 27 and then bring down everything that I have not yet used. Scan from left to right. Do I have any more exponents? No. Multiply or divide, whichever one I see first. Okay, I've scanned from left to right. I see 5 times 6. I'm going to underline it. I'm going to solve. 5 times 6 is 30. I'm going to bring down everything I have not yet done. Scan from left to right. Any more multiply, divide? No, so I'm done. Next is add, subtract, whichever one I see first. Scan from left to right. I see addition. 30 plus 30 is 60. Bring down everything else I have not used. Scan left to right. Still looking for addition, subtraction. I'm going to stop. There's subtraction. 60 minus 27 is 33. And I have my answer. Add, subtract is done. Process. Start back at the top. We started with multiplication. The next one was an exponent, which remember was also multiplication. Then we're 5 times 6, another multiplication. Then we had addition of 30 plus 30, and then we had a subtraction of 60 minus 27. So our process was multiply, 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 add, and subtract.